So I want to share something personal with you today. A story of mine and people that I was working with for the last 2 years. People that I can easily call friends now. I truly believe that growth and learning are the fundamental drivers in our life. And I want to ask you to close your eyes for a second now. Think about the most exciting thing you learned in your childhood. You can open your eyes now. I saw a lot of people smiling, and that is exciting. Think about how many new things you've learned in your life since then. And if you think about the professional life, how many new things you've learned in the last 5, 10, or 15 years? How many times you combined knowledge in different fields to come up with a great idea? And today, I'm going to talk about the growth model that we came up with in a Barcelona-based company. So, where it all started. So, a few years ago, I moved from Vilnius to Barcelona and joined a company called Typeform. I joined the company as an Agile coach, and I had the chance to work with these amazing people in the team of Agile coaches. By that time, it was Jaume, Uriel, Juanan, Dino, and me. And we were working as a team of Agile coaches. We were supporting the company during crazy growth. We were trying to help the company to adapt the Agile practices, mindset, and methods. And business as usual. We were supporting different teams, leadership team, customer success, marketing, product development teams. And it was fun, and it was cool. But at some point, we stopped for a second. And as most of the teams or people or companies, at some point, they reach the phase when they start asking difficult questions. And the question that we were trying to answer was, what is the reason for us as a team of Agile coaches to exist in our company? Why are we there? And we realized that we need a purpose, a North Star that we should be looking for. And in our team, we had a lot of changes. In the previous slide, you saw that there were 5 of us. After some point, there were only 3. But we had a really strong purpose, which was to enable Typeform to adapt and embrace change by promoting a mindset of continuous improvement. So that was our North Star. We know that it might be that we will never get there, but as long as we know to which direction we're going to, we're on a good track. But there was one little problem with that. We didn't know how this purpose could help us to make a decision on the daily basis, right? How can we know if we are actually going towards the North Star? And then we decided to come up with the impact that we wanted to make. So how can we see if we're actually helping the company? And what we said is that in our company at Typeform, the impact that we want to have is self-sufficient, healthy teams that collaborate and deliver value continuously. And that was a good start. But again, we felt that something was missing. How we, as an Agile coaches, can behave on a daily basis to enable our purpose and the impact. And then we came up with the final thing that we said that we focus on our growth to increase the value delivery in our company. What does that mean? It's pretty simple. If we are getting better as an Agile coaches, we have better chances to support our teams. We might help them to grow, to deliver value, right? And if the teams in our company are getting better, the company itself has a better chances to thrive and succeed. So we are looking for some tactics or some strategy. How can we grow as an Agile coaches? And we started to look for different models. We were checking the medium growth model, we were checking the Songkick growth model, but Agile Coaching Institute, they did a pretty good job some years ago, and they defined the key competencies for Agile coaches. And that was a good start. But there was one problem, that this model didn't help us to understand where we are today as Agile coaches and where do we want to be. So we used this model as a foundation to build something else. And we built this model. So we took the same competencies, but we broke down each competency into 4 different levels, so we can understand how strong we are in some specific competencies and where do you want to grow. And today, I'm going to share you only one example of how the structure looks like, but there's a blog post that I can share you afterwards where we defined all the competencies. So The competency one. Here we are today in Agile Tour Vilnius, and I'm going to talk about the Lean Agile Practitioner competency. So the first, level 1, is the basics. So if you see yourself in the level 1, you are competent and you're able to apply the basic Agile methods with the teams that you're working with. So that's the entry level and the basic knowledge. And if you meet these requirements, you can consider yourself as a competent, right? But then you move one step forward. You're able to be proficient in that area. And what adds up here is that you not only know the Agile concepts, the methodologies, but you're also able to read the context and the people. The thing is that if we use the spoon to eat the steak, it's not going to work. If we're going to use the fork to eat the soup, it's not going to work neither. So if you are proficient, you're not only knowledgeable in the methodologies, but also you can read the context, people, and the environment. And we can even go further. If you think about some Agile coaches that you've seen, some of them, they're able to make an impact in the whole organization, right? So if you see yourself as an expert in the area, you should be able to have impact not only on the teams, but also on the organizational itself. So people who see themselves in the expert area, they're the ones who are driving the organizational transformations or helping on the mindset of Agile in the companies. And we also define the fourth level. So growth and learning is never-ending process. There is no finish line. It's just the journey. So we define the fourth level as an inspiration, right? So in this level, we see that only the world-known thought leaders, people like Mike Cohn, Hedrick Nieberg, or Jeff Sutherland, they achieve that level. So if you see yourself as a master in the area, you should be standing in the same line with these people. So it was good. We came up with some useful model, but at the same time, we, again, lacked some strategy or tactics or how we can use it on a daily basis. So what we were doing, every 6 months, we were assessing ourselves based on that model. So the way how it worked, we printed out this model, and myself, I was assessing myself. Where do I see myself in different areas, right? So where do I see myself in Lean Agile Practitioner, coaching, facilitating, transformation mastery, or mentoring? And the thing is that you cannot be good at everything, but as long as you understand where you are today and where do you want to be, you're on a good track. And the thing is that if I would be assessing only myself without taking into account the feedback from my colleagues, the model would be wrong because I'm just a partial voice, and there might be different perceptions of how people see me, how do I see myself. So during the conversations with our colleagues, we were able to adapt different perceptions just to come up with at least a partial truth. So after the assessment, that was my model. So this is a real story. This is me, I think it was like a year ago. So based on my own perception and the feedback from my colleagues, I was able to understand where I was that day. And these were my competencies. And to define the follow-up plan, we decided to focus on only 2 areas to improve in the upcoming 6 months. So I picked 2 of them. I picked coaching and facilitation. And it's really personal. Like when you hear a word coach or agile coaching, you usually think about the guy or girl in like 30s guy like Jeff with the beard. And in my case, I have this thing called baby face, right? So the years passing by and I'm not getting old. And trust me, I wish I could. And the thing is that it's not the easiest place to be in a coaching role when you are working with people who are sometimes twice older than you. And the only way to fix that is to actually become good at it, right? So even though some people might be skeptical at some point 2 years ago, oh, he's probably like super young, he doesn't have much experience. But if you start sharing your knowledge and experience and actually convince people that you are knowledgeable in that area, you get the trust right away. So that was my reason behind that. And when it comes to facilitation, so there are good meetings and there are bad meetings, and all of us attended in both of them. And I thought that in the company we have so many different meetings. It's like huge amount of them. And I was thinking that I can have a good impact in the company if I can help people to have good meetings, to have more good meetings, to train them how to run the sessions, how to come up with the meeting agendas that are focused on the outcomes. How do we spend our time efficiently? And that was the reason why I picked this area. So what's next? I came up with an action plan, a very specific actions that I was driving during the upcoming 6 months to improve in some specific areas, and I will quickly run through them. So the first one, I mentioned that one of the areas that was picked up was coaching, and I attended the course which was called the Organizational and Relationship Systems Coaching. And I know that in this picture, I look like a guy who was just like brought by the principal of the school to, to talk about something that went wrong. And I was the youngest attendee in that workshop. And again, it's a funny situation. When we were practicing the coaching, in my case, I was sitting in front of the couple who had divorced, and they were not able to agree how to spend the time with their kids. And I was like sitting in front of them saying, yeah, I have plenty of experience. I can explain how to deal with these things. So the main takeaway from me in this course was that I learned how to be a neutral voice in the conversations, because in the coaching role, we still have this monkey voice in our head when we are talking to people. And whenever people are telling us something, we already have a thing in mind, what they should be doing. And the main thing that I learned here is that create an environment for a person to explore different options instead of being biased and driving person to make one decision or another. The other action was, there were a few books mentioned there, and it was facilitation. So in the last 6 months, I've facilitated many different sessions. So whenever there was a request from, doesn't matter, from the design department, from marketing, to facilitate a retrospective or a feedback workshop, I was the volunteer. Because I knew if I practice more, I will build more confidence, and I will be able to have a more efficient meetings. And at the same time, I can share the knowledge with other people so they could spread this kind of a mindset of having really good meetings where people are engaged and they're spending their time wisely. And the last but not least, so I was lucky in one conference in Prague to get Jürgen Appello as my mentor. And this is the place where I want to stop for a second. For me, having a mentor was a game changer. I started to have mentors 4 years ago, and that boosted up my professional and personal life a lot. So I would highly recommend to all of you to find a mentor. Find a person who is 2 times, 5, 10, or 100 times better than you, because if you can spend some time with these people, the learnings that you can get might save you loads of time. So I would highly recommend to do that, to have a mentor. So yeah, I was working on my actions for 6 months, and then we did the assessment again. So again, I was trying to look at myself, I was asking my colleagues for a feedback, and I came up with the updated model of mine, my personal profile. And for example, in coaching, I realized that I didn't reach another level, but that's completely fine, because as long as I'm getting better, I know that I'm on a good track, and these levels don't matter much. So, in the talk show, I was saying that I'm going to put myself in a risky situation, and I will start defining a growth model with someone here in the room, right? So there are some people that I know in this room, so I need a random person. So Jeff, do you mind telling me a number from 1 to 5? 3. So it's going to be the third row here, and the number from 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 to 8. 7. So, sir, do you mind to stand up? Can we pass the mic here? One quick question.
Yeah, right. Totally random.
Have you ever seen me before, or we are friends, or we work together?
Nope.
Who believes in that? If you don't, okay, let's assume you believe. So what's your name and what's your role in the company?
I'm Justas. I'm a project manager.
Lovely. I would ask all the project managers in this room to stand up. Cool. So the first step in defining the growth model is to find like-minded people, right? So Justas, you see all these people here in the room. They're also sharing the same craft as you do. So remember these faces, people who are standing up. You're working as a project managers. get in touch with these people and start defining your next growth model. So everyone now can sit down except Justas. Sorry, your bottle will be waiting there, the one that we're getting. I'm going to give mine to you, that's for sure. So that was step number one, define like-minded people. The step number two, define key competencies and levels. So we're going to be like really short here. So in the Agile Coaching Competency Framework, you saw the 8 competencies, right? So Justas, in your project management, project manager role, what could be the key competencies? Let's say 3 of them. What are the most important things in your job that you can become good at?
Being an intermediary between business and developers.
Okay, so stakeholders management, let it be.
Okay.
Could be, that could be one of them. The other one is that, do you need to understand some technical things?
Not really, but I do.
Okay, that's even better. So we have 2 already, stakeholders management, technical, right? Then project planning?
Yep.
Could be the one. So you have 3, right? So we already started to do some groundwork for Justas to define the next growth model. Thank you, Justas. Give a short round of applause. So, few other steps. Step number 3 is to assess yourself and also find people who are working closely with you so they could provide you some feedback in which areas you're good at or which areas you could improve. Step number 4, define areas of growth. So what we are saying is that the focus is really important. So imagine I've chosen 2 areas, coaching and facilitation. So that doesn't mean that I'm going to stop all the information flow which is coming from the other areas. No, I will still be like reading blog posts, articles, whatever, but I will be focusing on 2 main areas. The 5th one, define concrete actions, because if you only come up with the inspirational idea of in which areas you want to grow without having a specific plan, the chances of failure is pretty high. So be as specific as you can. So imagine if one of the action is read the book, it's not enough. It should be reading a book and applying 5 or 10 practices. So not only learn, but also find an area to apply your knowledge and learnings. And the last part, just before you go. So for me, growth is just a part of our day-to-day work. And I was lucky enough to see people who grew from being interns in the company to a very respected people as the senior managers. And I was thinking about what's their recipe of success? Why they're so successful in such a short amount of time? The personal growth that they had was similar to Bitcoin in 2017, which was like this, right? So the main recipe was that these people, they were able to identify the needs that the company had by that time, and they just got the skills. And by doing that, by growing personally, they were able to have a very big impact in their companies because they were doing what was critical for the company. And just the last thought to leave you here with. Don't focus on being the best. Don't compare yourself to the others. Just focus on being a little bit better version of yourself. Thank you.